Hello there. Thank you for staying on the AM show. Time now to go to the central region to get an update on what's happening there with regards to the floods this morning. Our man on the beat, Richard Kojonyako, joins us via Zoom. Hello, Richard. I mean, it's a really devastating flooding situation that happened over the weekend. First off, tell us how those who've been affected are coping this morning. Hello, Richard, if you can hear me. I was asking you to tell us how those who've been affected by the floods are coping this morning.
Well, so it's been very difficult from last night and even 3 days ago. I have been caught in a conflict of interest position because I'm reporting, and then I've also been affected as well. For the past 3 days, I've not been able to access my home.
Sorry
so same
about
applies
that.
to the people that are also close by. In fact, the students of the University of Cape Coast, the Sandwich students, and those that are on campus that are doing projects, the floodwaters have entered their rooms, and so they had to evacuate. There are other people that have also been cut off from their community. Some went to the farm, and then in another community, and they were hoping to return to their communities, and the bridge linking the two communities collapsed. And so you see the extent of the situation. They have no routes, no other route to take to go back to their communities, and that is why a lot have been displaced. NADMO puts the number of houses that have collapsed, flattened to 300, and they say that the houses that have been affected number over 1,000. That's so for the displaced ones, they are now putting figures to the numbers and even the number of the houses that have been affected. So it's really a situation. It did not really rain on Saturday in these parts that I'm talking about, but on the north of the central region from Dunkwanofen to Fupraso, it appears that the floodwaters are coming from that end, and so that led to the caving in of that road that links between Cape Coast, Jokwa, and then the Kakum National Park area. And so the approaches of the bridge caved in, but thankfully we are told that the highways minister ordered a contractor to come, and so that night, particular night, they started work on that particular stretch on the road, and thus dawn, that road has been open to traffic. So it was really a terrible situation. If you look at some of the communities like Abe, Kwapro, Simeon, and many of them. So I can count up to about 6 communities that have been cut off from one another. Some can't even come to town to buy anything or get anything as well. So they are trapped essentially. And so that is the situation. You saw that some were using canoes to swim to or to get to wherever they want to get. Up for the quantum of losses, people's television, fridges, and all of that, they've all been destroyed in this flood. But it's not really rained heavily today. This morning, we started a sunny morning, and about an hour ago, it started raining heavily, but now the rains have subsided a bit. And so that is the situation we have faced now. People have begun counting their loss, but they can't even count their loss now because some parts, the water has receded. But once it is receiving at one part, then the other part, the water level is also rising. And so it is really some situation that we can't say that we are at the end, because where I stay, I have not witnessed that for the past 20 years that I've stayed there. So it's really a difficult situation. The last time we witnessed any major flood was in 2010. But that the magnitude was not this big, but this one, it is really big. People have had to get to some hilly areas in churches, in some schools, and all of that. So NADMO yesterday presented them with some mattresses, some food items, and all of that, as they do when flood or some disaster strikes.
I'm just looking at the front page of the Daily Graphic, and I'm seeing a photo of the Ankaful prison flooded. Do you know if it's one of those areas where the water is receding? And do we have an update on how the inmates are faring?
Also, where you see is the Ankaful prison barracks.
Okay.
So it is a barracks that got affected. It's not a prison. The main prison camp is there, and then the maximum security prisons. Where they are situated, they are above where this place is. This is their camp where the officers stay.
Okay.
And so this particular officer that lost their life, he was on duty on Saturday morning, helping to even survey some of the things. And then he went missing all of a sudden. So they did not know where he passed. But yesterday, the body was found. And so it's one of the communities that has been badly hit. The road from Elmina Junction to Ankaful, it was completely cut off because the road also caved in at a certain point, and those that will go to Emisano Seminary, the place was inundated with floods. And so all of these places, so the places that I'm mentioning, they are very close to the Ankaful prisons, the Ankaful Nursing Training College, the Ankaful Psychiatric Hospital, and all of that. And then it's just close to the University of Cape Coast. And so these are the places that are badly hit.
All right, Richard, I know it's early days yet, but let's just know if you've received any indication as to what may be causing the serious flooding situation in the central region. Because like you mentioned, you haven't seen this in about 20 years since you've been living where you live. In Accra, when we experienced recent flooding, some engineers attributed it to siting of buildings in waterways and new communities springing up in wetlands. Also, the issue about we not having enough or proper drainage systems. Has it been established in the central region case what could be the cause for the serious flooding we saw over the weekend?
So as it stands now, there is no known established cause for this flood. Yes, people may have got on the ways of where wetlands are, where they are not supposed to be, but it might be a minimal cause of this flooding that occurred last Saturday, because the water, the floods, inundated the entire area. This is where some of the buildings that people, they say, have built on wetlands, they've been there for the past 6 years and nothing has really happened. So it might be a cause, it might be a contributory factor, but the bigger contributory factor, the experts are saying that it's about climate change, it's about the rivers breaking their banks, and then flooding the entire place. And so yes, the siting of these, the improper planning and all of those things may account for this, but this has a major cause. And so they are yet to identify where the rivers that have overflowed their banks, where exactly they are and what will be done about it. But NADMO says that, well, people should be prepared for the worst, because it appears that the rains are not stopping anytime soon. And there's a lot that would be happening. So they've told people that live on low-lying areas to get to the hilly areas so that they will be safe. And they have also told people that have built on water courses. I went to Kapro, and then the entire area, so the water level was beyond the window level. So you see that if it is beyond the window level, no human being could stay in that particular place.
Richard, I see that your feed is frozen, but I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Richard?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great.
Bernice.
Okay, so when we experienced some flooding in Accra last week and the week preceding it, we had some military officers moving into flooded areas and helping people get to safe zones. Did anything like that happen in the central region?
Well, I only saw that when the NADMO Director General came to the central region, Cape Coast, and then was followed by some military officers. But they are not military officers that have been permanently stationed in these affected areas to help them evacuate or anything. It is the assemblies, it's become the responsibility of the assemblies in those areas. And there are two major assemblies that are affected now. The Commander Naigua Fabrim, that is one of the biggest constituencies or the municipalities we have in the region, and then Cape Coast. But Cape Coast, it is not all the part of Cape Coast, is just a part, the northern part of Cape Coast that is usually affected in this. But the other areas in the Cape Coast South, for instance, they're not really affected because the flood waters are not passing through. You know, it has only one channel. If you are traveling from Cape Coast to Elmina, there is a bridge called the Itre Bridge, and that is where the water, the rivers are supposed to merge into the sea. and that place is also even getting full, and the sea level is also rising. So I have not really seen military men that are on the ground like I saw in Accra, but I think that today the roads minister would be here shortly to inspect some of the major roads that have been done. I do not know whether it is at a point that the military and the other personnel would be detailed to look at, to help the people salvage their items and then to help them also get some relief.
And I mean, I'm learning that there is a certain dam in the central region that is usually spilled. I'd just like to find out from you if you know if that has happened and could be a contributing factor to the floods we saw on Saturday.
Well, so these were mere rumors and they were mere suspicions. The Ghana Water Company has debunked this assertion that they have not opened or spilled any water from the Brimsu Dam. In fact, they say that the nature of the Brimsu Dam is such that there is no pathways to spill them. And so if the dam is full, it overflows by itself. So it is not by any act of theirs to spill anything like we have in other dams where when it is full, they have to open the pathways for the water to be spilled. And so they have debunked this assertion that it is not their making, but it is a disaster, purely a natural occurrence, a natural disaster that has happened. And so it is not that it should not be attributable to them.
And before you leave us, Kojo, I've seen a video of some school children wading through the flood waters. Tell us what the situation is like for them this morning. Have they gone back to school? What exactly is happening?
So as an adult, even me, I cannot even cross to go to my home. So those people that are living beyond that, be it students, today they are all trapped in their homes. Some have mocks, those that are Form 3 students, but I presume that the schools might have to reschedule the mock exams they have today because the students cannot risk. The vehicles that tried risking, I mean, they got water in their engines and their cars got broken down. And so for the students that stay in there or beyond at the Cape Coast North constituency precisely, I doubt there will be any major schooling if the people where they are staying is part of the affected areas. And so schools will be in session. Yes, there are people that are living in low-lying areas, but it's not all of them that could go to school. And parents that stay in those areas, I doubt they would ask their children to go to school nonetheless.
These must be very difficult moments for you, Richard, being affected by the floods and having to report to yourself. We wish you all the best and do stay safe. That's my colleague Richard Kojo joining us from Cape Coast on the floods that occurred over the weekend. Still suffering from it in some parts of the central region. We understand NADMO will be addressing the media sometime this morning, and so we are not able to raise them on the show. We will bring you those details also. And also on the bit that Richard just ended on, the bit about the school children and having to write mock examination, we'll try to reach the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education on what plans have been put in place for those who've been affected by the flooding. We'll take a quick breather here on the AM show. We will be bringing you more. You would also have your say. Today we've been talking about sanitation related to the floods as well. What is the situation where you live when it floods? We know that there have been some citizen arrests of persons who've been throwing garbage into flood waters. But tell us how we can solve this problem of sanitation and the floods. We'll be doing that shortly. Do stay.